In today's video, we're taking a look at Puch, the god of death. As per usual, I will have a quick guide and comprehensive guide for the god, obviously separated in two different sections. If you're looking for a specific area of my video, you can take a look below in my video's description for timestamps that labels specific areas of the video. And you know, while you're down there, please leave a like, maybe a comment, and smash that subscribe button so I know you guys are enjoying these videos and the content that I am creating. And my video will start shortly. Welcome to the quick guide portion of my video. I will be keeping this short and brief, giving a very basic understanding to Puch, so you can take him into some matches. I'll be going over his abilities, some basic combos, just to get you started. So let's take a look, and after, if you feel like you want to know a little bit more, take a look at my comprehensive guide where I go into full detail, tips and tricks for playing this character. Puch's passive is called Hollow Ground. When Puch goes over any of his corpses that are left behind from his abilities, he heals health, lowers his cooldowns, and receives mana for each body that he goes over. Puch's first ability is Undead Surge. When you activate this ability, Puch throws out two corpses in a line in front of him. When they come into contact with an enemy god, they explode, leave two corpses on the ground, and reduce the amount of healing that god will take or enemy jungle camp. You can also reactivate the ability earlier to have the corpses stop early. This is, you know, especially effective if you're trying to zone or if you miss somebody and you want your ability to come off cooldown a little quicker. Puch's second ability is Corpse Explosion. This is an area effect triggered ability. When you cast this ability on dead corpses that you have left on the battlefield, it causes them to explode, doing damage per body that is in the radius. Puch's third ability is called Fleeting Breath. Puch throws a charm in a targeted direction. When it lands and hits an enemy god, they take damage per second. It also leaves a corpse on the ground that you can use to explode later with Corpse Explosion. Puch's ultimate is called Empty the Crypt. When you activate this ability, a horde of ghosts come forward, dealing damage and reducing healing of anyone that is within this radius. Alright, I'm going to give you guys a quick combo to start your engagements here. Start with Fleeting Breath, throwing the charm onto the enemy god. Then using Undead Surge to throw corpses at them, and then using Corpse Explosion to cause the corpses to explode. You're then going to use Empty the Crypts, and that is the entire combo. This is what that looks like in action. Not too bad. Give it a little practice. I mean, the hardest part is going to be landing the Undead Surge. Now, when it comes to trying to get away with Puch, there isn't a whole lot you can do to kind of, you know, dissuade your enemies. Well, I mean, the most basic thing that you can do is really just empty the crypts. Just hit your ultimate and run. A lot of people ain't looking to walk through that. That's just a lot of pain that they are not looking to receive. Other than that, just watch your positioning where you are. Puch doesn't have a lot of escapes, and I mean, maybe Gem of Singulation can help by adding a slow to your abilities. And there you have it. That's my very basic, quick understanding to playing this god. If you feel like you know enough to basically get started with him, go ahead and take him into the battlegrounds. If you wish to know a little bit more, maybe some more tips and tricks or in-depth look at the character, just wait a few minutes here as my comprehensive guide is going to start, and you can learn a little bit more there. Other than that, thank you for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe. I'd appreciate the help. Anything helps. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll hopefully see you in my next video or in the next part that is starting now. Welcome to my comprehensive guide for Puch. I'm going to be taking an in-depth look to Puch, giving you all the tips and tricks that I've learned all over the years while I've been playing him. I will be taking a look at abilities, combos to start and leave fights, leveling order, and things that you really should and shouldn't be doing with the character. Let's start by looking at some of his abilities. Puch's passive is called Hollow Ground. Puch during combat with his first and third ability will leave these corpses on the ground. If you walk over them, you'll consume them, receiving health and mana and reducing the cooldown of your first and second ability. Now, additionally, on the bottom left, just above your avatar picture, you'll see this icon, or I guess label, with these faces. Each face that lights up is basically indicating how many bodies you have on the field. You can have a max up to 6, and each corpse lasts 45 seconds. Enemy gods can take them out with about 2 auto attacks, so they're not impervious to damage, so don't just try to stack them in the middle of lanes. People will take them out if they have a brain. Now just taking a little bit of a better look at Hollow Ground. When you walk over a decaying corpse, Puch lowers his cooldown of Undead Surge and Corpse Explosion by 2 seconds, restores for 7% of his maximum health and 3% of his maximum mana. Puch's first ability is Undead Surge. When you activate this ability, it is a line attack with an AoE burst at the end of the ability. So you throw out 2 corpses to start marching forward, and then stop when you hit the radius, or stop when they hit an enemy god or any really enemy minion. You can also reactivate the ability early to get them to stop. When this ability lands, it slows enemies for 2 seconds and reduces their healing by 40%. This ability is very good for some easy poke, and you can keep spamming it if you're just constantly going and grabbing it to reduce the cooldown of it. It's also kind of nice to use it constantly in this case, for just spamming it, even if you're not using it to hit any enemies, just to spam it close to you, just to get some healing and mana back while you're in lane if you're pretty low. It's a pretty effective way to get back up and to stay longer in lane, thus letting you out level and out gold whoever you're versing in lane. Taking a better look at Undead Surge stats, the damage is 90 at level 1 and 170 at max rank, with additional magical scaling at all ranks. The slow is 20 at level 1 and 40 at max rank. The slow duration is 2 seconds flat, all ranks. Additionally, when this ability hits, healing is reduced by 40% for 5 seconds. Puch's second ability is Corpse Explosion. This is an area effect ability. Now, I know that looks hella complicated. It isn't that bad. I will explain it piece by piece just so it kind of makes a little bit more sense. So the initial part when you activate this ability is a radius area effect explosion that does damage. Now, if you use Corpse Explosion on any of the corpses hitting the ground, it's actually going to force those corpses to explode. So if I just have this one body, you can see that second circle that you're seeing is the radius damage of that corpse. So when you're using Corpse Explosion, it is best to have and stack as many of your corpses together as closely as you can, so you can get maximum damage from them. Unfortunately, corpses just decayed there. Now, a nice little trick that you can do with Corpse Explosion is it can be used over walls without sight. So if you have any bodies on the other end of walls or anything like that, you can use Corpse Explosion to explode them, doing damage. Kind of nice. It's actually very good if people escape through walls. You can usually try to huck a body over there with your third ability, and then use Corpse Explosion to do some extra damage to them while they're over there, hopefully taking them out. Looking at these stats for Corpse Explosion, the initial damage of this ability at level 1 is 60, and then 100 at max rank, with additional magical scaling at all ranks. The damage per corpse that explodes is 55 at level 1 and 155 at max rank, with additional magical scaling at all ranks. Puch's third ability is Fleeting Breath. Puch throws the charm in an area of his choosing. As you can see, there is a radius at which this ability can hit. It's pretty generous. It's kind of hard to miss this ability. So when you chuck it, it leaves a body on the ground in the initial spot that it lands, but it's also doing dot damage to any enemy god that it hits. Now you're gonna see that symbol that is flashing on them. That symbol indicates that if they receive any type of healing from anybody, or even like potions, just literally any type of healing, they're going to get stunned. I believe the stun is like 2 seconds. We'll check that when I go over the stats for this ability. Fleeting Breath can also be used behind walls. So a nice little thing you can do with Fleeting Breath is just throw, if say someone like would hop over this wall try to get away from you, you can throw Fleeting Breath and then you use 2 corpse explosion to explore the corpse that would be back there. Very handy for people that are trying to escape from you. The damage per tick for Fleeting Breath at rank 1 is 30 and 50 at max rank, with additional magical power scaling at all ranks. The additional damage is 50 at rank 1 and 250 at max rank, with 50% of magical power scaling at all ranks. Stun duration is 1.5 seconds, while the duration of the ability is 4 seconds. Additionally, after the duration, targets take additional damage and are stunned if they were healed by an ability during the initial duration of the spell. Puch's ultimate is Empty the Crypts. Now this is a massive box AoE around Puch. You can choose which direction it's facing, which is basically just whatever direction that your character is facing. When you release the ability, a bunch of ghosts start flying forward. When they come into contact with enemy gods, they take damage and get a stacking debuff. Debuff reduces the amount of healing that this character can receive up to, I believe, a max stack of 3 for a 20% health reduction per stack for a max total of 60%. I believe that's how much it is. I'll go over that in the stats for this ability just to give you 100% accuracy on that. Now, a nice little tip with this ability, which is, this ability is a super amazing for zoning. A lot of people are not going to want to walk through this or jump through it or jump into it because it just hurts. So if you're like protecting your tower, like this tower that I have here, it is a great idea if you don't want the people to push, like if you're by yourself, or if they're coming in on a team fight, just activate this ability. People are not going to want to come in between this and your tower. It's just going to be death for them. It's also really good for securing any main objectives and stuff like that. Like, it's just super good for zoning, keeping people out of a certain area for a couple seconds. Like if you're taking Fire Giant, doing Gold Fury, or there's just a certain tower or Phoenix that you're trying to protect or even take. Placing your ultimate on an enemy's Phoenix or tower will deter them from staying there. They will flee. They will leave. They're not going to want to be there. Empty the Crypt's damage per Wraith at level 1 is 40, and at max rank it is 80, with additional magical power scaling at all ranks. The duration of the spell is 5 seconds, and the healing reduction to enemies that are standing in the AoE is 20% per stack. The max stacks that any enemy can get is 3. Alright, let's take a look at starting and picking fights with this character. So your first basic combo that you can do with Puch, you're going to start with Fleeting Breath, throwing this and landing on the enemy opponent. You're then going to use Undead Search, then Corpse Explosion, and finish off with Empty the Crypts, your ultimate. Now, when you're using this string of combos, you need to be very precise, especially because Undead Surge does have a little bit of a difficulty landing on enemy gods depending on where they're moving. So you want to be really quick and kind of plan out and guess where the enemy is going. It's going to be a little bit easy for me because this Odin has a set path. So when you're practicing in matches, well, you're just going to have to practice in matches to get good at hitting actual people. That's what that would look like. Very easy, very quick succession. Now, a second combo that you can do with Puch, you pretty much just reverse. It's like the same as the first combo, but you reverse the order of your 3 and your 1, basically. So instead of using Fleeting Breath first, you would use it last, and then you'd use Undead Surge first, and then Fleeting Breath. So you're just gonna, sorry, I think I messed up that for a second. You're going to use Fleeting Breath second, not last, instead of first, and Undead Surge first instead of second. So start with Undead Surge, then Fleeting Breath, then Corpse Explosion, and then Empty the Crypts. Those are basically the two combos you can do with Puch. Just kind of, you know, going back and forth between either or. Usually it just depends on if you're waiting on cooldowns for certain abilities, or if you want to try to get the slow off with Undead Surge. I recommend going with the second ability because it's going to make it a little bit easier hitting the rest of your combo. All right, now we're going to take a look at trying to get away from people that are chasing you and want to murder you. In the case that this happens, which hopefully it's not too often, as Puch, you do want to be in the back and just kind of be a long-range artillery. You don't want to get too close to people. But say someone is getting to you or is close to you, your best bet is honestly just to hit them with your any of your basic two combos that I just gave you earlier. The amount of damage that comes out of that is so substantially high that most assassins or ADCs that you hit with this, you're going to take them down to about 20% health, and they're going to have second thoughts about trying to kill you. The other thing you can do is if you got multiple people chasing you and you need to get away, just pop empty the crypts and run. Most people aren't going to spend the time trying to get you unless you're pretty low. Another thing you should probably make a habit when you are running away from people, if you do use empty the crypts like that or use your combo, is as you're running, just throw out your first and third ability and get these corpses. If you can do this over and over again, you're just going to keep either doing damage if it's a melee auto attacker that is on you, or you're going to just keep regenerating enough health that your teammates are going to show up and give you a hand and get whoever is on you off of you. Okay, let's take a look at leveling order. So if you're playing Conquest and you're starting off at level 1, your best ability to start off with is Undead Surge. The reason for this is as you're using Undead Surge, when he hits any minion waves or hits a jungle camp, if you're deciding to possibly jungle without Puch, the cooldown reduction you can get from picking up the corpses will help you use this ability over and over and over again while you're in lane or in the jungle. Now, the second point that you should be grabbing is Corpse Explosion. That extra damage, especially if you're in lane, is going to be helpful for poking and doing damage to the enemy while you're fighting them. Your third point should be going into the Undead Surge, then your fourth point into Fleeting Breath, and your fifth point into Ultimate. Then you're going to focus maximizing Undead Surge first, then Corpse Explosion, then Fleeting Breath, and then Undead Crypts. Undead Crypts is nice, but like I said earlier, it's kind of used for zoning and its base damage is kind of nice. But the damage that you're getting from Fleeting Breath is so substantial that it's kind of nice just to get that maxed first before your ultimate. Now, if you are playing any other game modes where you're starting off at level 3, for instance, like Slash, just start with 2 points into Undead Surge and a single point into Exploding Corpses, then your fourth point into Fleeting Breath, and then into your ultimate, and then following the same maxing of your first, your second, then your third, and then your ultimate for your abilities. If you have other ways that you like to play this character in terms of leveling, you can go ahead and do that. This is just kind of the way that I do when I'm playing my matches, that works for me the best. And you don't have to take my word for it. You can give it a try or try to do something else. All right, do's and don'ts for Puch. Now, there's kind of a couple that I've already said while going over through some abilities and the combo section. So you're gonna probably hear it again here, but they're just good points to bring up. So in terms of do's with Puch, when you are escaping from enemies, using your corpses to heal while fleeing is one of the best things you can be doing. Don't just be running and not throwing any of your abilities out. The reason for this is just the healing and the cooldown reduction that you're going to be getting back is going to keep you alive a lot longer. And if it's keeping you alive a lot longer, it's going to give time for your teammates to come and give you a hand. Also, if you're like boxing somebody, you can also like turn around and just kind of do circles around enemies. Like I'll show you this out in here. If you're just waiting and just doing enough poke damage like this, you're gonna eventually chip them down far enough that you can just add your Corpse Explosion into that mix and kill them. Another thing that you really should be doing with Puch is saving your ultimate for objectives. this ability is just so good for zoning and getting enemy teams away from a certain area for a couple seconds that it's just the best way to use Empty the Crypt. So even if it's like blocking certain entryways, it's just super effective. If people want to get through this, they're gonna either sacrifice help, or they're gonna have to use their escape to leap over to get into where you and your team are, or where you are if you're just defending a tower by your lonesome. For don'ts, Puch doesn't really have much for escapes. He's got his slow undead surge, and he's got his zoning ability, Empty the Crypts. But you know, sacrificing your ult to get someone to go away isn't the best use of that. Kind of a waste of your ult. So your number one thing with Puch is going to be positioning. You need to know where to be standing. You need to be aware of your surroundings. Wards are going to be your best friend in Conquest or in any game mode, really. Be aware of your map. Make sure you know where the jungler is if you're playing Conquest, or where the enemies are in any other game mode. Knowing where the enemy is and knowing where to stand while Puch will keep you from dying. Puch is very squishy and has no escapes, so getting away isn't really his strong suit. It's just kind of staying back and poking from a distance, doing damage. So if you're bad with positioning, I do not recommend playing this god. You're just going to die and get frustrated very quickly. Another thing is you don't always have to use your corpse explosion after you use your combo. Sometimes it's just nice to use corpse explosion and fleeting breath, and then picking those up on minion waves, or even on an enemy god if they choose to run after, just to do some poke damage to get them out of lane. Obviously, if you think you can kill them, use your full combo here, do your max amount of damage, but just poking with Undead Surge and Fleeting Breath, and then picking them back up again to get your mana health back is a good use of your time in lane. And I think that's everything I have for do's and don'ts. So just a quick recap. Watch where you're standing, your positioning. Make sure you're keeping track of your map and your enemies that are around you. 2. Using Undead Surge for zoning when you can. It's very good for defending or taking objectives. And lastly, when fleeing, use your abilities that drop corpses while running away to continuously get health and poke the enemy that is attacking you, to either to turn them from chasing you or to give yourself enough time for backup to show up. And there you have it. That's all the information I have for playing this god. Puch is probably one of my more favorite mages to play. I just find him a lot of fun, and he's kind of hard to kill if you know what you're doing. And thank you for watching the video. If you're still here at the end of my video, thank you. If you watched the entire video, damn, I love you. Thank you so much. Please like, comment, and smash that subscribe button. Any support would be appreciated, and it'll let me know that you appreciate the content that I am making. And I hope to catch you in next week's video. I have a new schedule. I think I kind of mentioned it in the video before, which I will have pop up in the corner right now. But every Tuesday, I'm trying to release a new video. I am doing an alphabetical order, starting from A, moving down to C, with the exception of whenever a new god comes out, I will be going over them first. Thanks for watching, and catch you next time.